Good evening, I'm Jasmine Thibodeau. 20 years ago, this arena became more than just a venue. It became a lifeline. The Cajundome opening its doors to thousands fleeing Hurricane Katrina. Tonight, we share the stories of survival, service, and the strength of Lafayette.
When Hurricane Katrina hit on August 29, 2005, Lafayette wasn't in the storm's direct path.
But the core of the worst weather with this particular system will be east of Acadiana.
But the city quickly became a refuge after several levees and flood walls failed, flooding most of New Orleans. Within days, the Cajundome, normally home to concerts and basketball games, was sheltering more than 7,000 evacuees, families with nowhere else to go.
We began to see the magnitude. The buses kept coming. You had a lot of senior citizens, a lot of children, families, mothers and fathers, and they had nothing. Many of them had been stuck on a roof and was rescued. Some of them were stuck on the interstate at the high rise surrounded by water. Later in that week, we started receiving evacuees from the Superdome, and they were desperate for people elsewhere in Louisiana to receive them and to give them the help that they desperately needed to survive.
Inside, evacuees found cots, meals, and medical care in what would be their home for months to come. Volunteers poured in from across Acadiana, doctors, nurses, churches, schools, turning the Cajundome in what some called a community of compassion.
We didn't have a manual. We didn't have policies and procedures. Everything was thinking while we were on our feet as to how we were going to provide the services that they desperately needed. And we got lots and lots of help from the community.
It was a life-altering experience, obviously, for the people of New Orleans and the surrounding area, but it was also a life-altering experience for Louisiana and especially for Lafayette. I remember back in that day, our traffic and transportation director, Tony Trammell, put out traffic counters, and his comment was that Lafayette grew 12 years in population in 12 days.
But Lafayette and surrounding areas still rose to support the people of New Orleans.
The evacuees, while they were here at the Cajundome, had their own zip code so they could get mail, so they could stay in contact with their families. The pharmacy that was set up at the Cajundome was, we believe, the largest in the Gulf South. It was probably the largest in the state of Louisiana at that time, because the people who came here, more than 6,000 of them initially, needed to have their medication. They needed to make sure that they were healthy. And Dr. Paul Azar and his team with the Lafayette Parish Medical Society and all of the doctors in this community really rose to take care of the health, the physical health, and also the mental health of the people that were with us for several months.
The days weren't easy. Davis remembers a 2 a.m. phone call looking to place 17 buses full of evacuees.
We're being told that everything is full and they can't go anymore. Can we bring them to the Cajundome? Now, when we got that phone call, we were at capacity. We had no more room. We had violated every fire code in the book. And we told the state trooper, bring them to the Cajundome. We will set up shop in the parking lot. We will provide them the help that they need. And that night I made a call to the executive chef. He came, got his staff together. And when those buses pulled up around 4 or 5 o'clock, he had a hot breakfast for them.
A full medical team was also on hand for treatment. It was only about 3 weeks later they were thrown a curveball when Hurricane Rita hit, forcing evacuees up north and moving them back once the storm passed. But 2 decades later, the Cajundome's role is remembered not just as a shelter, but as a symbol of what communities can do when disaster strikes.
I think as you look back on what Lafayette did for the state of Louisiana, certainly the people of New Orleans and the evacuees that had to be there, we made this home for them, or we tried to make it as much home as possible so they could deal with the trauma that they had to deal with and didn't really have to worry about the day-to-day and where their next meal was going to come from. And I think that was really significant.
We should not ever let this be erased from our memory as a community, because it was one of the biggest natural disasters in America. And the Cajundome led the way.
setting the standard. The Cajundome's response became the operations manual for a mega shelter in the nation.
What happened inside these walls left a mark. As the Cajundome turns the page, the memories of compassion and courage live on 20 years later and forever.